This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites. A no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better host, or if you're looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month absolutely free. And now, enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only two-time PWG Battle of Los Angeles champion, King Ricochet, and you are listening to Busted Wide Open Podcast.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open Podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome back to Busted Wide Open. If this is your first time joining the show, I'd like to welcome you to episode number 249. Very anticipatingly awaiting our move to Twitch this Saturday. My name is Nick Howell.
Twitchy, Twitch. Even I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and welcome to the show. That's right. We have to talk today about Monday Night Raw, which happened last night, and all the things that they're getting. They're getting set up for SummerSlam. Might it be on a boat? They're on a boat. We could have Andy Samberg as the guest host. It works out great. They looked at Jericho and they're like, if Jericho can do a cruise, we can do a cruise. SummerSlam on a boat. It might happen. That's the rumor, at least. We're setting up for that in WWE land. We've also got to talk about New Japan. They're back. They're coming out the gate. They're doing all kinds of stuff. We had Sengoku Lord this last week. We have a whole bunch of their summer program heading on right now. And the big night 4 this Friday is going to have some big matches. We can talk about that as well as what they're up to for the rest of the summer. Impact has got more eyes on it than it's had in years because of a massive Slammiversary and picking up a whole bunch of people from WWE who weren't being used over there, but by God, they're being used on Impact. So we got to talk about Impact, as well as we have Jesse Money's Bright Side of the Ring. That's right. We're going to have a segment devoted to talking about a nice uplifting story in wrestling, and that's going to be later on in the show. So lots to do today, Nick. A big show. But before we can do that, we have to do some housekeeping, and then we can get into it.
Yeah, big day of housekeeping today, guys, so bear with me as I work my way through this. First and foremost, if you're not in the Facebook discussion group, head over there. Make sure you watch the live that is pinned to the top of the group as an announcement. It was about an hour long, but that does go through all of the details of the move that we're making this Saturday over to Twitch. Plus, I go over all of the dynamics and the vocabulary and the whole new thing. Plus some inside baseball about what Sir Ian Dangerous and I have been thinking about and talking about the last few months. Reasons why we're moving, reasons for growing the show and continuing to do that. So make sure you go and watch that. All of the great questions. Thanks, everybody that joined in and asked a lot of great questions. Had some good conversations during the show, and hopefully I got all of those answered for you. But yes, I will segue that with we are moving to Twitch Saturday. If you haven't heard yet, newsflash! We're moving to Twitch, twitch.tv/bustedwideopen. And if you'll humor me at the end, I've got a little something I wanted to say as well about YouTube. So stick around to the end of the show, and I wanted to throw something out there for that. At BWO Podcast over on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you get into our Discord server. That is the place to be. It's where all the live chats happen all throughout the week, and dedicated channels for all pay-per-views, all kinds of good stuff happening over in the Discord. Thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are just absolutely rock. Every single month, we are blown away by your support and love for the show. Thank you guys so much for everything. If you'd like to get in on some of those exclusives, head over to patreon.com/BWO. Sign up for one of those reward tiers to get access to show notes, the ability to ask listener questions for our patron mailbag show, patron pick'ems we've got coming up here at the end of the month for the SummerSlam pay-per-view, all kinds of good stuff, bonus episodes, Skype calls, you name it, over at patreon.com/BWO. And, of course, make sure you're subscribed right here at YouTube.
Yes.
Because we are going to continue putting up content. Don't think
we are.
Don't make the mistake
we might
to
have
think
more.
that we are abandoning YouTube, because we are not.
We got plans. We got plans.
We got plans and shit. So don't abandon YouTube just yet, and I will go over that at the end of the show and sort of outline some of that when we're closing things out after the show. So hang tight. We got a lot of wrestling to talk about, and
oh my goodness,
it ain't all gonna be pretty. So,
are you suggesting, Nick, that we might have some negative things to say about Raw tonight?
I am suggesting that talking about this might be like putting down a tablespoon of cough syrup. So let's go over, let's get it out of the way, and let's kick things off with Monday Night Raw.
Oh, Randy, Chris, Catan, Kelly, Kevin, Kennedy, Kardashian, Orton, you scamp. He's back. He's busy. He's out here saying, I took out Big Show. I took out another legend. I got nothing left to do except, I woke up this morning thinking there was something that I was missing. And it might be, looks down, checks pants, a belt. I need a new belt.
Oh, he wasn't looking for a place to put his hands.
No.
Okay.
Or no. He does that anyway. I'm saying he looked down and saw something different this time. And this time was decided, you know what? I haven't had that big old champion belt in a while.
Yeah.
And I might want it back again. I've had some iteration of a World Heavyweight Championship 13 times. I might want to make that a big old 1-4 and tie Papa Triple H. So he's back in the hunt. He said, you know what? I think I'm going to challenge Mr. Drew McIntyre because he's a loser. He's been fired before. I'm going to teach him what it means to be an all-time superstar because I'm better than The Rock. I'm better than Stone Cold. My resume looks better than theirs. My longevity is better than theirs. So, yeah, Drew, if you accept, I'm coming for you at SummerSlam. My goodness, Randy. No one saw that coming except for everyone who's paying attention. So here we are, Randy Orton gunning for Drew McIntyre. Later on in the evening, Drew McIntyre, of course, had his match with Dolph Ziggler, which Randy apparently forgot about. He just challenged Drew McIntyre as though Dolph Ziggler was a guy who was just automatically going to lose to Drew.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know, Nick. I was sitting here going, Dolph might win this somehow.
Right.
No, you didn't. You didn't see that? No.
Way to undercut your own booking, WWE. Strike one.
Right. So, all right. So we don't even give Dolph a chance to get out of the gates, but we do have a full-on Extreme Rules match. We didn't get one at Extreme Rules. We got an Extreme Rules for Dolph only match at Extreme Rules. But Drew, who's had a week to think of a stipulation for this match and come up with something creative, something ingenious, something new, something we haven't seen before, something exciting, decides to go, instead of any of those things, decides to say, how about this time we just have a straight-up Extreme Rules match and we both can hit each other with whatever we want? Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That very John Oliver. Cool.
So, that's what a unique stipulation, Drew.
Real quick, I'm going to jump in with some Super Chats. Line Drive. Kyle dropped $2 in to kick us off. Said BWO Tuesday, thick like Bronson Reed. Thick boy. Damn, boy.
It's a thick show today. It's so thick. It's meaty.
Also, Andy Jessup with a $5 Super Chat. Thank you very much, Andy. Is anyone going to earn a title shot against Drew and demand one? It's funny you bring that up, Andy, because that's kind of where my thinking was as well, is we did not really, other than Randy just coming out and going, you know what? I think I want a title shot. I'm better than The Rock. I'm better than Stone Cold, blah, 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 all that.
So
we could have said this like weeks ago as Dolph was getting teed up, and it would have made sense for it to be, hey, after you're done with Dolph, I'm coming for your championship.
That's the only thing I think here's the thing. That's the only thing I think they were missing here was just at least acknowledging maybe Dolph has a chance tonight, but they didn't have Randy do that. Randy's just like, yeah, I'm going to face Drew at SummerSlam. And of course, Drew just straight up accepted, as though we didn't have a match. But I don't have a problem with someone calling their shot, especially if there's someone who is legitimate. Bobby Lashley called his shot. He felt legitimate. Randy's calling his shot now. He feels legitimate. Dolph had history with Drew and pissed him off into accepting that.
You mean Randy, not Reigns? Just to be clear.
Well, Reigns called his shot too when Goldberg was champ, right?
Fair.
And it's what you do. Like that's wrestling throughout history. There's been, calling out the champ. Do you not have a contender? How about me? And the champ can then say, yes, I believe you're worthy, or no, I don't think you're worthy. And then you can create a whole storyline along if the person thinks they're worthy, pissing off the champ enough to give them that shot. So that's a trope. It's been around for a while. Fine. I don't mind that. But because it doesn't feel as arbitrary as it sometimes does. Sometimes it feels completely arbitrary. Roman Reigns being like, I'm next, felt arbitrary. It's like, what? Okay, there's not a ton of people who want a shot at Goldberg right now. No. I can see a lot of people, like, who else right now would feel like they're ready to go face Drew right now? Almost nobody on Raw feels like they're ready to challenge Drew, who hasn't already challenged him, like Lashley, for example.
Right.
You know what I mean? Randy's the only one. So when he just calls his shot, I don't fundamentally have a problem with that.
No.
It was just the lack of paying attention to the main event of the damn show, which we still had to see.
And the fact that he just came out and said, of all things I could do, we're just going to have a straight-up Extreme Rules match. You're Drew McIntyre. You could have said, I'm going to take you to the Highlands, and we're going to have an Atlas Stones match. Or something, we're going to have a caber toss match.
We're going to have a Dolph Ziggler wears a kilt Scottish style in a WWE ring match and see how many times we have to use a little pixelation on your crotch. Like, this is the thing. There's a lot of things they could have done for this match. And the problem is that stipulation was not interesting. But by God, those two guys went out there and put on a hellacious match.
They did.
And beat the crap out of each other. And it was actually, if you just took the match, if you go back in a few months and just watch that match with nothing else around it and just say, hey, Drew versus Dolph in an Extreme Rules match, it was a damn good match.
We rave constantly about Dolph Ziggler being an amazing in-ring worker. And he showed it, even in extreme circumstances like this. And it's exactly like you said. If they had not painted this ugly Picasso of a portrait around this whole setup between him and Dolph Ziggler, it probably would have been a fantastic main event for a Raw.
Yeah.
So I'm
when
upset
you
about
go to the
this,
museum,
obviously.
They have this huge gaudy frame around the painting, and like the lighting is really bad, and there's like some fat guy in the way who's just like munching on popcorn and like smearing himself, and you can't pay attention to this beautiful painting because everything around it is just pissing you off.
Yep.
And that's kind of what this was.
Yep.
Obviously, Drew wins, overcomes a low blow, and some other moments where Dolph actually gets a little bit back. Claymore's Dolph through a table. 1, 2, 3. Drew is going to go on and face Randy Orton at SummerSlam. Oh, God, all of a sudden we have one of those buttery out of nowhere's RKOs to RKO Drew. Randy stands tall with the title at the end of the show, and we're off to the races. Again, the only thing I have a problem with here was just how they set up this match with Drew, the underwhelming stipulation, and kind of just not really giving any credence to Dolph winning this match, which none of us believed anyway, because the guy hasn't won a world title in 10 years, even though he's challenged dozens of times for it. I feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy with Dolph. I feel like it's a closed circle. They've booked Dolph in WWE to the point where he's useless as a legitimate competitor. Useless. He can talk a big game. He can get out there on the mic. He can go work a good match. But no one's going to be invested in him. No one's going to be interested in him because we don't believe he's a credible threat. Yeah. Because he never has been.
No, he got that Money in the Bank briefcase for the World Championship, the world title.
In the last 10
Alberto
years.
Del Rio, 2012, something like that, 13 maybe. Yeah, and he's had various,
I'm so sorry. He hasn't been a credible threat for 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years, Nick. Excuse me.
He had that amazing solo Survivor Series run where he sort of almost saved the day. He's had chances, but he hasn't had
because Roman was out, and that was, or he was standing for somebody else. Somebody else was supposed to have that spot. It wasn't supposed to be Dolph, and then they dropped that within a week. Don't bring that up. A terrible one too. Another super chat line drive. Thank you very much, Kyle, with $5. He says #1 contenders match could at least let some young talent get over. Maybe put Black in there. Kevin Owens, both who need something to do. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to Aleister Black a little bit later on the show. There's the top of the card. They're looking for something to get people back into watching this. And Randy Orton is on right now, I think, one of his hottest streaks he's been on in forever.
Yeah.
Forever. ever, like since maybe winning the Rumble and even before that.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this might be one of his best runs of all, maybe ever.
I would actually agree. This is
whole thing with
hot
Edge,
as hell.
going through the Legend Killer thing, bringing all of the revival of that, and then getting into this program for the title for, I think it's his 15th championship. If he wins
this would be 14.
This would be 14. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, 3 more over the next 3 or 4 years. He's got the record.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll give him the record. I think just Cena stands a little bit taller than him, but he's got plenty left in the tank. So who knows? But the point is he brings in the casuals. He's been around for so long. He's so popular. When he's as hot as he is right now, he will bring in the casual audience. They're looking at this as a ratings ploy as much as they are for having a big main event for SummerSlam. Randy versus Drew for SummerSlam is bigger than any up-and-coming wrestler they could have.
Hell yes.
They can have that like young wrestler tournament in the fall or another point in the year. For SummerSlam, they have to have a big main event. That's the biggest main event I see on Raw.
Very tasty.
So I can't argue with that.
No.
As far as the secondary title, we'll get to that. That's where you can have a lot more of the young up-and-coming guys, and that's where they are. So that, at least, I think they're doing right. As far as title changes, we got to talk about Sasha versus Asuka, because Sasha Banks had another chance at Asuka this week. Anything changes the title. Like if you're counted out, if you're DQ'd, the title changes hands. Winner takes the championship no matter what. There's no champion's advantage. Right. Which we said last week, Nick, shouldn't have made Asuka happy and shouldn't have made Sasha pissed off, because all we did was take away champion's advantage. Yep. That's literally the only thing they did here. They said they took away champion's advantage. It actually made it more difficult because you have Bayley outside who cost Asuka the previous match, and if you can change hands in a DQ or a count out, Bayley now becomes an addition to Sasha's side. So it was already dumb booking coming into this. And then we had another fantastic Sasha and Asuka match, just like the Drew and Dolph main event. If you took away everything else from around it, the match itself was fantastic. And actually, at one point, we thought Asuka was going to get counted out.
Yep.
And then at the end, because Kairi Sane had chased off Bayley at the beginning of the match, chased her in the back. And at the end, some executive in the back, who's obviously got it out for Asuka, put up on the Titantron video footage of Bayley kicking Kairi Sane's ass backstage. Right as Asuka was preparing to put away Sasha Banks, she's looking up on the Titantron and watching her best friend get absolutely murderized. And then she has to decide between her championship and helping her friend. That's the drama. That's the story, at least we're being told. And she runs into the back to save Kairi, which she does at the expense of her belt, which due to count out now goes to Sasha Banks. What did you think about the ending of this match, Nick?
Stunned. Speechless, pissed off, angry, frustrated, confused. Yeah, yes, is what I thought about all of it. This stood to be what, like, you couldn't hold out for one more month and keep building the program for these two and had them go back and forth at each other for another 3 weeks till we get to SummerSlam and have this be a sort of big time match with those kind of stipulations at SummerSlam. You're going to flip it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and think for 1 second that they're not going to have this as a match at SummerSlam. It's kind of writing itself on the wall that Asuka's going to get another. She was screwed out of it. Bayley attacks.
She was
Kairi.
Furious backstage afterwards. She came out of the trainer's room or the doctor's room and was crying and screaming and pissed off. And, we know for real that Kairi Sane is done with WWE. She's going back to Japan.
Yeah.
This was her send-off. She's being sent out on an injury angle, which I thought was appropriate. She had a really wonderful final match where she won and then was sent out to put heat on Bayley. Great. All of that, fine. Fundamentally understand that. And having Asuka now be furious at Sasha, okay, cool. Now we do have some good meat here.
Yeah.
If they decide to go ahead and continue to have an Asuka and Sasha feud. If they do, this is a good stepping stone for that. And we're going to look back on this and say, okay, it felt shitty at the time and it felt like dumb booking. And it is kind of dumb booking if you look at the way that they set this up.
It's stupid.
Not a whole lot of logic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it does set us up to have more heat between Asuka and Sasha in the future, on that level, at least, it works.
Yeah. You know who else didn't like it was Line Drive. Kyle with his $20 in the super chat Said this Sasha feud cost us Kairi versus Asuka farewell, Shayna versus Asuka, and Bayley versus Sasha, and a full circle of the Mae Young Classic having Shayna kill Kairi. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Rage quit Raw over all this. If I feel the hand of the booker, it's not heel heat.
It's fun. That last, and thank you very much, by the way, Kyle. Thank you for the $20, man. I appreciate that. It's actually that last sentence, I think, is the most relevant thing there. If we feel the hand of the booker, and this definitely felt it felt like they didn't know what to do at Extreme Rules. We do know that show was ripped up, and that match finish at Extreme Rules was a last-minute change.
Yeah.
It felt like they didn't know what to do then. They winged it and then came up with a better ending. And this should have been the ending at Extreme Rules, because this would have been really powerful if we hadn't had the kind of dumb setup that we had for it. And looking at what might have been, I try not to do that, because if I get booked, like the booking I want in my head, and then they don't book that way, I get more mad more often than not. And that's not their fault. They got a story they're trying to tell. You know what I mean? I kind of have to go with that a little bit.
Right.
But if they tell that story stupidly, that's when I get pissed off. I'm like, you could have. See, there were ways you could have done this better that wouldn't have been so illogical and stupid. And I can think of a few of them, and some of them Kyle just mentioned.
Yeah.
If you're going to go this way, you better be right. You know what I mean? And I see what they were trying to do here, and they're not fundamentally wrong. Again, the things they're trying to accomplish with this, I think they accomplished a few of them. Unfortunately, I just think that match finish was so underwhelming. It pissed people off, obviously, and not in the way that they wanted, because it did feel completely arbitrary.
When are they going to stop doing Asuka dirty like this? You had her tap out immediately to Charlotte at Mania. When you had her do this count out BS with these stipulations. Like, I want Asuka to feel insurmountable, almost like Drew does.
Here's the thing. I'm ready to let go of the Charlotte and Mania thing, because they're giving the two of them a very obvious long program. So I'm willing to wait and see on that.
Fine.
Asuka has had an absolutely monstrous 6 months.
Yep.
She has been one of the biggest things in WWE since the beginning of this year. And they've built her as being dangerous as hell. I think they've done a fantastic job with Asuka. And they didn't end this match. She had Sasha beat. They're keeping her strong here, and they're showing that she's a good person because she had to go leave to save her best friend. I don't think they're doing Asuka dirty here at all. I think they're making Asuka look like $1 million. I feel like they're doing their product dirty by having this kind of finish.
Yeah.
So I think everyone comes out of this, the character-wise, smelling like roses. Sasha seems like a dirty heel who didn't really win the title. Now we're mad at her for taking the title off of Asuka that she didn't earn. We're mad at Bayley for killing of Kairi, and we're cheering on Asuka because she went out to defend her friend. Unfortunately, it leaves a sour taste in people's mouths because it wasn't the best booking to get there. The storytelling to get there didn't feel good. It didn't feel right, and left a bad taste in people's mouths. Yeah. So that's really where I'm pointing this, is saying they're doing the characters right, but they're doing the actions and the story wrong.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And there's not much that I dislike about what Asuka has been through and has done throughout the course of 2020. Anything from her just being crazy and screaming in Japanese, as I predicted would happen over a year ago.
2 years ago, you
wanted to happen. They finally, because they listen. They listen. There is a particular super chat from Xander that I'm going to let you read because I believe that's directed your way. But I agree with you, Xander.
Xander the Mander. Xander G, $5. Thank you very much, sir. He says, I just watched Train to Busan off your guys' recommendation. It was phenomenal. Thanks. Cheers, brother. Glad you dug it. They have actually a sequel coming up. I believe there's also a anime that they're doing based on it. There's a lot more Train to Busan coming. So if you dug it, stick around. It's one of the best zombie movies the last 5 years, hands down. It's so freaking good.
Yeah.
So glad you dug it, Xander. We also, while I'm looking at super chats, Will James with the $10. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Will.
He says, to me, this ending was better and can lead to way more story than Asuka losing clean, which I can't see any of us wanting. And he has a point.
That is a fair point.
As a way of finishing this match, it makes Asuka look heroic to go save her friend. She didn't lose clean to Sasha. And as I said, that actually makes us pissed at Sasha because she still feels like an illegitimate champ. Again, it was the setup of having this be no champion's advantage and just not doing this Extreme Rules. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Yeah. If you're going to do this, like, this is just the timing's wrong. Story beats. And just the rhythm is all off. This is did you see that when they took Toto Africa, and they down-tuned it by like half a note, and they offset the lyrics by like a beat and a half.
Oh God, my head would explode.
It's the worst thing. Like I was just sitting there screaming, like, "Oh God, make it stop!" It's like listening to 30 seconds of that, where I'm just like, "You guys had it. Why did you?" Oh.
I will recommend the one from Frog Leap though, from a few years ago.
What?
Leo over at Frog Leap Studios. Check out Frog Leap Studios on YouTube. Little plug. He did a metal remake of Toto's Africa.
Okay, we're not supposed to be getting up on Toto's Africa here, but you go check out Frog Leap. Dominic Mysterio was due to be on the show. He had to give Seth a piece of his mind. And Seth was anticipating it, saying that he wasn't going to wait for Dominic to jump in backstage. He's going to head out to the ring with Murphy. Murphy was looking pretty freaked out by Seth because Seth, pushed a man's eyeball out of his skull on the recent Extreme Rules pay-per-view and vomited as a result. Let's not forget we had a puke spot in 2020 WWE.
Trying to forget it. Just please don't bring that back up. My eyes are going to water again, and I just had dinner.
And so Seth said we have to go to the ring and let's call out Dominic. So he did. He called out Dominic, and he said, "Dominic, come out. Let's work this out. Let's say we love each other and hug it out." And so he, "Come on, Dominic. Come on down come on, little buddy." Dominic comes out kind of sheepishly, walks down to the ring. Murphy, hold the ropes for Dominic. And Murphy holds the ropes, and Dominic's like, "I'm not getting in through those ropes." Finally gets in the ring, and Seth's like, "Come on, buddy. Come on. Let's make this whole. Let's make this whole." Dominic goes like he's about to get a hug from Seth, and then he tackles him and takes him out at the legs and starts beating the crap out of him. And Murphy starts beating him, and then they start beating up Dominic. They start beating the crap out of Dominic until Aleister Black comes down to make the save. They forget about Dominic, start beating up Aleister Black, who's still injured on his arm. And Murphy, at one point, at the end of all of this, Seth says, "Murphy, I need you to go poke out Aleister Black's eye the way I did to Rey Mysterio." And Murphy looks terrified. He's like, what? And Seth slaps him in the face and says, "For the greater good, Murphy, are you in? Are you in for this? You know what this man has done. He's beaten you over and over again. Do it. Do it." And Murphy does it. Goes and pokes Aleister Black's eyeball on the ring steps. Aleister's screaming. He's injured. Murphy's freaked out.
I was vomiting.
Nick was vomiting.
Yes.
Dominic comes out with a kendo stick, beats the crap out of Seth and Murphy. Beats the crap out of Seth and Murphy. Let me underline this. He beats the crap out of Seth and Murphy with the kendo stick. They both go scuttling up the ramp. So we're left here. Dominic stands tall, avenges his dad, I guess, sort of. Aleister Black is injured. Murphy has sold his soul to Seth Rollins. Seth is still a creepy bastard who thinks that everything that he does is for the greater good. And later on, Murphy had a match against Humberto Carrillo where he beat Humberto, and it was just a match. And there was almost nothing. Like, Humberto didn't come out to save Aleister here. There was no reason for them to have the match later. They didn't base anything on the actions of this segment. It was just a match between
who's
Murphy
Humberto Carrillo?
Exactly. Apparently, he was a Paul Heyman project, and now he's just a guy. So
I want you to eat some crow if Dominic comes out in a mask and challenges for the United States Championship soon.
Okay, I'll prepare a crow, Nick. I ain't eating crap. Kyle over in the Super Chats, $10, brother. Thank you. $10. He says, maybe it's just me, but Rollins in his current incarnation just feels like white noise to me as I've heard him again and seen him do the same things over and over again. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Triple H giving the authority promos at the beginning of every Raw for like 4 years there, where at a certain point you're like, I know the cadence. I know what he's going to say. I know what's going to happen next. And Seth's kind of like that with these promos where like the character is so good and he gets the character so well, and the nuances of it are so, and I thought what he was saying here was a bunch of great stuff. He's creepy as hell. But they're having him talk so much in this character, and the storyline hasn't changed, that, yeah, you know what? You're right. It's feeling monotonous. It's feeling like the same old thing. They need to get him away from what they've been doing and find something new to put this very cool character in.
Yeah.
That's a very cool, creepy character right now, and his relationship with Murphy is cool and creepy. But we've seen it in this feud. It's done. Move it on. Let's see a different aspect of it, a different side of it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean, and the super chats are blowing up, so I got to catch up. Andy has an idea. $2. Thank you, Andy. He says Dominic goes full Sandman. Yes. Kendo stick and beer in
What?
hand, smashing him over his head. Let's go.
I thought he meant he was gonna crucify Seth on a barbed wire cross or something, and I'd be like, I'm there for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd sign up for that.
Done.
Thank you very much, Andy. Also, Kyle again. Oh, nope, you read that one. Never mind.
Yes, I did.
Thank you again, Kyle. Jacob, $5 super chat says, give Dominic an MLB contract. That boy was swinging.
He was swinging that stick.
Crow stepping into it, winding up.
My goodness. Boy was hitting bombs. Braun Strowman was in the back going, that's my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, that was good stuff. And there was aspects of this that were good. Again, I think Seth is good and creepy, but I agree. Let's move on.
We've got to get past the eye gouging thing. We've got to get past the Rey Mysterio story and Aleister Black, and they need to do something else. But it's got to do something. It's got to kick into another gear.
I worry we're going to get more Rey and Seth because Rey hasn't signed his contract yet.
Yeah. And
they're saying he's going to recover from the gouged eye. Is he going to recover by SummerSlam? What are we going to do with this for SummerSlam? We can't possibly survive in this till SummerSlam.
Yeah, we can.
Dominic Seth. That's your summer. Okay, we're talking about Randy and Drew being a big draw, a big match. Dominic versus Seth is your idea?
If I crawled through Vince's ear canal into his head and could read his brain, I'm already seeing we're going to do Dominic's revenge eye for an eye match, and Seth is going to lose an eye this time. Tell me I'm wrong.
No. You know what oh, God.
Don't do that, Vince.
Mick Foley presented an opportunity. He said, how about we have an ear versus an ear match? I'll be the special guest referee.
Bang, bang.
Sure. How about a leg versus a leg match? Zach Gowen's the ref. How about that? So, no, this is... I'm ready for this to be done. I don't want any more Rey and Seth. Move on. Have Seth do something fresh and new. Hopefully this was the end of this. But if Rey signs that contract, we might be looking at SummerSlam. As far as Aleister Black, according to rumors, he's going to be out for a few weeks. What they have intended for him, I don't know. But at this point, I really do want them to hit a hard reset on him. Keep him out for a couple of months and have him come back in as the evil warlock or good warlock. I don't care. Put some mystique back on the man's name. Right now, he's been a goon for the last 3 months. Have him come back out and have Vince go completely cartoony, undead wizard on him. I don't care.
Yes.
But bring him back, refresh the man. If that's what the plan is, we're having him out for injury and he comes back in a while, I'm fine with him being off TV.
Yep.
Because they've kind of been doing nothing with him.
Yep.
So yeah, that's pretty much all of that. Let's go talk about the tag team division. Nick, a favorite punching bag of yours on Raw. We had a number one contenders match, Viking Raiders versus Cedric and Ricochet.
The Flyboys now, apparently.
Okay. Versus Garza and Andrade. And Street Profits were running. They were on commentary. A very entertaining commentary, I might add.
Yes.
They also did the ring announcing, which was also very entertaining. They're very entertaining guys.
Yes, they are.
That being said, this match, while entertaining, I thought everyone brought their A game. It was a very fun match. The winners were Andrade and Garza, fairly clean because your boy Ivar, your final form, Nick,
yes,
came off the top turnbuckle doing a senton to the outside on everybody that was on his side. Leaving Garza and Andrade.
We need to talk.
Yeah, leaving Garza and Andrade to pick up the pieces inside the ring, get the win, and they're now number one contenders to the Street Profits, even though they just lost to them like a week ago. Straight up lost to them. Apparently now the story is
they weren't on the same page.
They're not on the same page. Now we've seen Viking Raiders versus Street Profits recently. We haven't seen Cedric and Ricochet. That would have been intriguing, but it would have been face versus face. So they kept with the heel versus face dynamic. There's a story they're trying to tell with Garza and Andrade. Is that enough for you to care about this match that's coming up at SummerSlam in 3 weeks?
A little bit, yeah. I think we might have pulled the trigger on this a little bit too. We've decided the number one contenders now, and we're still almost a month out from SummerSlam. I wouldn't have done it that quick. I mean, give it a couple more weeks. You've got 4 teams here. Have a couple more matches, Have some other stipulations and things like that. But I'm not mad at Garza and Andrade being the number one contenders and most likely taking the Raw Tag Team Championships off of the Street Profits at SummerSlam. That sounds like a good bit on the card. I'm down with that. What are we going to do for the next 3 to 4 weeks, though, leading up to it? I don't know. Because that's the problem with establishing this early, is now we've got to tread water for almost a month. So yeah, I'm not mad at Garza and Andrade being the number one contenders. I'm over the moon about it. I think it's fantastic. They've been telling this. We've called it LIWWE for the better part of the year.
Well, we did back when it was an actual stable. Now it's just a tag team.
Well, I mean, the only difference was Austin Theory. So now it's
right.
Still
That's a stable. This is a tag team.
Okay, fine. That now it still feels a little bit like the same that it was in the beginning, but they've gone through a bit of an evolutionary step, and they've grown apart, and they've come back together, and now they're stronger together. I mean, it's storytelling. I get it. I'm on board.
We've been treading water. I think that having this be established this far in advance actually gives us a couple of weeks to build something. Now they might just have us do a couple of freaking singles matches to get there. They might not know how to book actual matches to get this heated up, but this does actually mean that we now have some time to tell the story of Andrade and Angel getting ready for Street Profits and hopefully taking the belts off of them, because I'm ready for a change there.
Yeah.
Shake something up. So yeah, I'm hopeful about this. I'm like, if they're going to do it now, it means to me they might have something planned. Some sort of story the next few weeks. I really hope so, because if this ends up being just 3 weeks of
we'll trade singles matches
setup
for the
matches,
next 2 to 3 weeks.
then that's terrible. Then that's not a good idea. Yeah. I would love to see something like Angel, like they revealed that Bianca Belair is really Montez's wife. They haven't really done that yet. But if you reveal that, you have Angel start hitting on her and creating some friction there. Something where you add more grist to it. You add a little bit more heat. You throw some peppers in this gumbo. Bring it on. Bring it up.
But then Charlie Caruso's going to be mad, and she's going to want to be involved. And
she's
so jacked, she's going to mess everybody up.
She's got something going on with Ivar, too. See?
Well,
yes. Yes, exactly.
Doug Ziggler was just excited that Kyle dropped yet another $10 in the super chat. Thank you so much, dude.
Oh, my goodness. Thanks for pointing that out, Dog Ziggler.
He said, speaking of which, shout out to Garza giving Charlie the vapors on Raw Talk. A side note, if I hear Garza and Andrade not on the same page again, I'll scream, especially since it does show on TV for a month. Yeah, stop trying to tell that story about they're not on the same page, because all you do is make us think that they're just going to turn on each other at some point. You're going to do Sasha Bailey 2.0 kind of thing, and we don't need that.
Well, and they're also kind of subtly trying to say, well, maybe they're not, like, they weren't on the same page. That's why they lost the Street Profits, so maybe they won't beat them at SummerSlam. But it's a long way to just be telling that story. That's a long way. And I agree with him. I loved Garza. The Garza and Charlie story with a little bit of Ivar in there is fun. That's window dressing that I can get behind, because it is entertaining, and they're having a good time with it, and they're performing it well. And also anytime that you have Angel Garza coming in there to seduce your ladies, you've got my attention. As we all know, like, that's been our favorite thing since NXT. So
this coming from the guy that liked the Lana Lashley wedding.
I did not like the Lana Lashley wedding. What are you talking about?
I know Dog Ziggler. I'm sorry. I'm just
Ziggler,
messing with
him.
Get him.
Tell him the truth of things. Good grief. Mustafa Ali had a nice big comeback last week with the Flyboys, getting a nice victory over Lashley and the Hurt Business. This week he came out at MVP's VIP lounge, where he and MVP traded barbs, and ultimately ended up in a match between Ali and Lashley, where all kinds of shenanigans were happening. It wasn't just a match. We also had R-Truth, who talked to Ali backstage and called him Mufasa. That's original. R-Truth came out, tried to jump Shelton Benjamin, get his 24/7 title back. That didn't work out. He was chased off. Akira Tozawa tried to get Shelton at one point. That didn't work. The Ninjas all showed up in the middle of the match. They all got murdered, including one who I'm pretty sure was Malcolm Bivens, Stokely Hathaway. He took a absolutely nuts. Lashley got him in a fireman's carry and then hit him on the head on the ring post and sent him spinning around like a helicopter. I don't know if you'd call that it's not an F5. It's like an F dead.
Right.
I don't know what you'd call that.
It's called manslaughter.
Well, also manslaughter was Ali having a nice babyface comeback, only to get caught eventually in the full Nelson. and he tapped out pretty much immediately to Bobby Lashley. So welcome back, Ali. You're just another guy.
Yep. Hey, where'd the hacker gimmick go?
Where? Yeah, right. Same. My goodness. Same place that Mark Henry's son, the Hand, went. So did you feel like this was the beginning of a babyface push for Ali, or was this just establishing that the Hurt Business are dominant heels and we're leaving it at that? This is just a way to kill time until Apollo gets back.
Yes, the latter of the two. This did no favors for Ali other than getting a TV time paycheck. You know,
which after 7 months, thank God he's got that at least.
Well, fair, but this is all like I still think MVP and the Hurt Business stuff that's circling Lashley and him are the best thing on Raw right now. And you're not going to come and like one up that with Ali. Sorry, it's not going to happen. So in Ali's position here, he was there to basically put over Lashley in the full Nelson. Just be that little, flexible ragdoll that he can be.
Yeah.
And just get whipped around while Lashley's got him in the full Nelson.
Be basically the enhancement talent.
Be the victim.
Are we going Candyman now? Be my victim. He was, and then we did Ricochet before this, right? You get a smaller guy or a Dolph Ziggler if you want, a smaller guy to get ragdolled around and sell to the bigger, scarier guy, put him over, and all it does is keep Hurt Business hot until Apollo comes back. Yeah. Now, it makes me wonder what they're going to do with Apollo when he gets back, or if this is actually a build for Ali to have something to fight upwards on, and he gets into the U.S. title picture. I would like that. I was not convinced that was the plan after this segment, though.
No.
They gave him a nice little spot on TV. They let him talk a little bit, and let him make fun of MVP. But they've done that before with Ali, and they've done that before with Ricochet, and they've done that before with guys who get in this position. And they make him look like, oh yeah, I'm a plucky babyface, and the heels just beat him down on their way to bigger, better things. So, very nervous about Ali in this situation, and the fact that they didn't even trust fans to be invested in the match enough, and they kept throwing other things in the middle of it to keep people entertained, kind of underlined that for me.
Yeah.
And finally, Nick, your favorite segment of the show, Nia Jax. Your girl, Nia Jax, is back, Nick. She's back.
What was with her and her coming out while Randy's walking up the ramp?
They've been doing that lately. They've been crossing her segments to keep you like, don't go anywhere. And up next, Nia Jax. What's she going to do? So that was their way of I
feel like that might have been a lost opportunity to have some sort of shoulder hit or something like that. And just have Randy RKO her right there on the ramp.
Again, apparently they forgot, and we know that Randy RKO'd Nia at one point, and they didn't want to reference that.
I was sitting there going, Rumble.
Do it again, Randy.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Come on, Randy. Do it right there on the ramp. Do it, Randy. The one time I'll ever say, Randy Orton, do it. You don't want. Anyway, Nia Jax gets in the ring, and who should come out to get? She says, "I took out Charlotte Flair. I'm deserving of all these things." You do her Valley accent better than I do, Nick.
Buckle
Fry Valley. Yeah. I can't believe that I haven't got a title shot. I'm still coming out to this ring and having to say to everyone, I'm the best. And I'm going to keep talking until I get interrupted. And she does get interrupted by Shayna Baszler's music. Shayna comes out, gets in her face. They have a scuffle. And later on the night, they have a match, which was about 3 minutes long because they started beating each other up in the ring. End up going outside of the ring. Nia's throwing Shayna all around and forgets that, there's a count going on. And we have a nice little count out. And then a pull-apart brawl at the end where they're both choking out security and WWE staff. And Nia stands tall in the ring afterwards, keeps pushing Shayna out of the ring. I have to say Nia looked dominant in this segment as compared to Shayna, Nick. I'm worried that Shayna is being set up here to be fodder for Nia and not the other way around.
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
How do you feel?
First, Kyle with another $5 in the super chat. Thank you, sir. Says Nia has no business being competitive with Shayna, and I guess she knows that since she preemptively deleted her Twitter. I didn't know that. Nia Jax deleted her Twitter?
Probably the best thing she could have done.
Yes! I mean that's awful. I agree with Kyle here. There is absolutely no I feel bad for Shayna First of all, you're coming out hot, biting the Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch on the neck, getting into a feud with her.
Whatever the hell that was.
Then you get bottomed out and disappeared.
Ugh.
And now you're coming back to get beat down outside the ring and counted out by Nia Jax. Ugh, Shayna. Did she piss somebody off?
Yeah, Vince.
Why?
He wasn't impressed by her. He doesn't get her, apparently.
All right.
So that's why I'm worried about this. If this is a way to get Shayna over and make her look dangerous because she's able to take out Nia Jax, who, they say they present Nia Jax as being like the Big Show. Because she's big, she's dangerous. And this right here made her look dangerous. Now, if Shayna's able to come back and beat her, they have to run the risk of Shayna becoming a face by doing so, which I wouldn't be mad at.
No.
Be a new look. But especially if Sasha retains the title and we're looking at Shayna versus Sasha, which I also wouldn't be mad at. Put that in my eye holes. But if this is just a way to make Nia strong so we can have Nia versus Sasha down the line, no. No. Put that evil away, put it back on the shelf, close the cupboard and hide it. We don't want that.
No.
So I'm right now, Nick, #skeptically optimistic that this is a program to make Shayna look good, even though in this particular segment she did not. So I'm waiting to see. But overall, Nick, let's look at this Raw. Was this an underwhelming Raw?
Yes.
Do you feel like they were going in the wrong direction with certain things and like it felt uneven? Was it just me?
No, it was a little all over the place, and it opened hot. I was really excited about it when I started watching. I had to watch late last night. Sorry I missed you guys in Discord, but I came in right as it was finishing and started. And I got really excited. I saw some of the chatter towards the end of the show, and it was basically everybody losing their minds, and I was like, nope, no spoilers, don't want to see anything. So I just went and watched, and I'm like, what are they talking about? This Randy segment's amazing. This is going to be a great Raw. Boy.
and then Nia came out, and you were like,
and then right after Randy, Nia came out, and I just went, oh, no.
I ruined it for you.
You know what I did? I went, oh, that's what I did.
Oh, man, I believe it.
Yes, I have buttons. A bleep button now, guys.
I need that. I need one of those two over here. Half the show would be bleeps. Let's line drive in the chat again. Thank you, sir. $5. He says, I'm beginning to notice a pattern with Vince where he only pushes NXT stars as the opposite of what they got over with. Sammy, heel. Kyrie, heel. Shayna, face? I mean, he's kept some of them the same. Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe. He's kept some of them the same. Finn Balor was a face when he got called up at first.
Kevin Owens has flip-flopped as many. Are you kidding? He been
came up as a
face
heel
more times than anybody in the last 5 years.
He came up as a heel for nearly 2 years. He was a heel. He didn't turn face for a long time. What are you talking about?
He's the face.
We're talking about when people
WWE
come up from NXT
and the U.S. title and all that stuff. The face of SmackDown.
When he was the Universal Champion that he took got after Finn Balor dropped it, and it was Universal Champion for 2 years. What are you talking about, dude?
I don't remember.
My point, yeah, I know. My point being that it's not everybody who flips. Yeah, Drew and Bobby Roode, those are good examples of where he flips them. Yeah. No, he mostly does flip him. Well, because Vince has a thing where it's got to be his idea. He doesn't want to put over other people's ideas. There's a famous, the famous quote from Jim Ross where everyone proposed to Vince that Shawn Michaels come out at the top of the Royal Rumble, and they had to propose it to Vince as he comes out. I think it was first, and Vince was like, no, he comes out second. And that way it's his idea. Like Shawn still comes out at the top of the Royal Rumble, but he's like, no, it can't be first because that's what everyone else said. It's got to be second. So that is a very much a Vince thing, is find his own little Ricochet. Kept him entirely the same, except for kapwing, let's make him a superhero.
Vince has
got to put his own spin on it. His own spin.
Yeah, I was mostly let down. I'm kind of halfway skeptically optimistic, excited about the card as it's lining up for SummerSlam so far. I think that's setting up to be a pretty decent show. But this Raw, they didn't do themselves any favors this week.
No, and some of the booking has definitely become a little bit awkward.
Meh.
Awkward.
Yeah.
That being said, Nick, there's also a place across the pond where people are having some controversial opinions on their current booking because they took some big chances. And of course, I'm referring to New Japan.
Sengoku Lord.
Yes.
Oh, Sengoku. Oh, listen. If you guys watched Dominion and you watched the fallout between after Evil and the fallout between him and Hiromu and the the breakup of LIJ to an extent and that just the strife there, and you were not excited about what we were going to get at Sengoku Lord, by God.
Hiromu.
Again, Hiromu went out and attempted to murder his neck.
Hiromu versus Evil. And he attempted to murder his neck. He attempted to murder Evil too, but of course, the Evil era is characterized by ref bumps and interference from Dick Togo, which of course is basically what we had in this match, which pisses off New Japan purists. I know it does. The one year that Bullet Club just could not stop interfering in each other's match in the G1, everyone was so mad. But of course, the final story was brilliant. It was great. It was such good heel stuff. And then of course they ultimately got disqualified from the G1. So everything came around. I have a feeling that's the long-term story here with Evil as well. But Hiromu, trying to revenge himself on Evil for his big brother Naito's loss, did not work out. Ended up getting the Garrett from Dick Togo, eating a couple of finishing moves and getting put down by Evil. I got to say this match picked up towards the end. They're definitely working more Evil's pace at the beginning of this match, which is fine, except when you're working with a guy like Hiromu, who is just, lightning. He's dynamite. You're sitting there like waiting for it to explode. And at a certain point, you're like, come on.
Like a time bomb.
You're waiting like a time bomb. Unfortunately, it never quite went off. And Hiromu did get put down by Evil. He was a bastard. Kyle in the chat. So Dick Togo took Dick Heel in his suit way too literal.
Agreed.
Dick in his suit. That's a hell of a suit he was wearing too.
Yeah.
That was not all at Sengoku. We know that Naito and Evil have a rematch coming up sometime later on, probably at Summer Struggle on the 29th of August. That's probably the main event there. So they're building towards. We also had Shingo defending his never open weight belt against Desperado. Desperado had been holding onto the belt for a little while now, and he'd stolen it. Shingo wanted it back. Almost lost his leg in the process, but ultimately puts down Desperado. I don't know who they're going to get to face Shingo. They built him up really big right now. I don't know who's out there who can take him down.
Yeah.
But I'm here to see it because he's having amazing matches. And then also surprisingly, will they get Will back?
We'll get that. Was it Super Juniors last year? That match.
But Will comes back all jacked, so he's Shingo's size now.
Yep. Put it in my eye holes.
Put it in every one of my holes. Wait a minute.
Hello.
Also, this is something that you will never hear anyone say often. Okada kind of stunk it up. Okada did not have a good match. It's for Okada. It wasn't a bad match. It was just kind of there. But he had a match against Yujiro Takahashi, who's just not.
Yeah, I'm not going to put this on Okada. I'm sorry. I got to cut in on you. This is not Okada.
That's not an Okada.
This is a Takahashi problem, not an Okada problem.
Okada even said, come up to my level in an interview beforehand, and Yujiro just couldn't. Yeah. He just couldn't. So this was kind of there. It was in the mid-card. But Okada did say afterwards he's not really interested in the big titles. But he's interested in rebelling a little bit, doing something a little bit different. And he mentioned something about strange stipulations. And what could that possibly be? I have an answer for you.
Oh, okay.
I have an answer. In case you're wondering, people out there, we do have an answer to what Okada was possibly referencing. And that is that we're having the Summer Struggle Tour goes for most of August, and it ends up at the end of August on the 26th and 29th. We've already had a couple of Summer Struggle shows, but we're going to Summer Struggle number 4 this Friday, which has got a nice card to it. The headlining match is Minoru Suzuki versus Yuji Nagata. Minoru has promised to execute Yuji, and this is after a 20-year feud between the two. So, if you watch them recently during the Cup, you know that they like to beat the crap out of each other, Nick.
Yeah, those chops. I felt those chops all the way over in the U.S.
You're going to watch a couple of grandpas try to kill each other, basically. Ugh. And it's going to be beautiful.
Yes.
A bunch of tag matches as well on that card, but I'm here for murder grandpas. I'm there for that. But that's this Friday, and then goes through, as I said, to the 26th and 29th. The 26th will actually be a special show where they will do the setup for what they're calling the King of Pro Wrestling Championship. And it's a new championship they're coming out with. And on the 26th, there will be 8 wrestlers, 4 singles matches, and the winners of those matches will then go on to a fatal 4-way on the 29th on the big summer struggle show at Jingu outside. First time they've ever been there. And the trick about this is in each one of those matches, all the wrestlers will propose a stipulation for the match. So each of the 4 singles matches, the 2 wrestlers will propose a stipulation. The fans will then vote on which of those 2 stipulations they want to see in that match. Yeah.
Where have I heard King of Pro Wrestling before? I feel that's been the name of something.
Yeah, well, that's King of Sports. They've done King of Pro Wrestling. They've used that title before, but it's yeah. But this
also
is for
the same week as SummerSlam, by the way.
How about that?
Fun fact.
Look at that.
Yeah.
What do you know? It's like it's a special week or something.
Yeah.
That being said, the winner of that fatal 4-way is then the King of Pro Wrestling champ, but does not get a belt or title, but has to defend it for the rest of the year. And anytime that they defend it, there's a special stipulation voted on by the fans. The winner
Rider trucks, barbed wire, and light tubes. That's
I wonder. I mean, we could go back to early 2000s New Japan and get some death matches, some exploding death matches in this.
Yes.
That would be interesting. But whoever is the current King of Pro Wrestling champion at the end of the year gets a trophy, and then it resets, and we have another tournament, and it goes on again. So I have the feeling that's where Okada is headed over to King of Pro Wrestling.
Not mad at it. Let's let the man do something different. He's been top of that promotion for like 8 years now, 6-7 years now.
And it gives a whole bunch of dudes. They've got a ton of big talent in New Japan. This gives a bunch of them something to do for actual stakes here, as opposed to just going for what are right now 2 unified titles. So this could slot into where the IC title used to be. I think it's smart.
It is smart. And Sildozer, I think, wins the night because I need a guy now that's just over on the side of my room that just randomly yells out, "Eye for an eye match!" Just randomly.
What would New Japan do if the fans voted for an eye match?
Oh, my God.
Oh, God. I'll tell you, they'd probably get it right is what they'd do.
They would. They'd actually remove someone's eyeball.
I wonder if they could get PCO over there. I don't know. Don't tell Minoru and Yuji that's a thing. They might actually tear out each other's eyes. Who knows? At any rate, New Japan looking very good right now. So that's all coming up. That looks like an exciting summer coming up for New Japan. Stick around for this Friday for that Yuji Nagata and Minoru Suzuki match. But Nick, we're going to do something we haven't done in a while here, and that's go and talk about Impact Wrestling.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
And I have to say, I will admit, full disclosure right here, that after the Tessa and Sammy stuff last year,
dropped out.
I fell off. I would catch reruns of stuff every now and then of old throwback TNA stuff or something over on Twitch from time to time, but that was it. And I like a lot of people, from what I understand, slept on and snuck in the back door of Slammiversary and was like, "Oh wow, this is actually really good."
Yeah.
I'm really glad I paid $40 to watch this. This was really good. And it just kept getting better throughout the entire show. And I'm looking forward to being encouraged and motivated to have even more wrestling to watch now.
Well, and what was smart is that they had so many eyes on them, and they had an opportunity on their next weekly show to put on a show that people would then see and become invested in. It was a great jumping off point. And I feel like they landed the plane. This was a really good show that set up a lot of feuds. It established a lot of characters. If you hadn't found out who the characters were, they got a ton of people on TV, and a lot of people that you would recognize if you've never watched Impact before. They spread out all that WWE talent across the entire show. So people that you might know from before, people that are interacting with people that you might have never seen if you never watched Impact. So it was a very smartly booked show, including a rematch from Slammiversary. Chris Bay retained again against Willie Mack. He's now calling the X Division Championship the Finesse Division Championship, which is great. Chris Bay had again, a character you might not know if you never watched Impact, but you now know who he is, and you're looking forward to watching people face off with him. So that was smart. You even had Madison Rayne when there was a tag match between Havoc, Nevaeh, and Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, a women's tag match, which was actually a lot of fun because Havoc ate a chair shot and gave a pile driver anyway. I loved that, where she's no sold a chair shot. It wasn't not a very good chair shot, but
but it's Jessica Havoc. She can that's kind of her
was
MO,
great
right?
about it. Madison Rayne was teasing the fact they might bring back the Knockouts Tag Team Championships.
Oh, really?
They have a big enough women's division, they might be able to pull that off. So that's intriguing right there.
I hope.
On the top of the card, you've got Eddie Edwards, your new champion, saying he's going to have an open challenge, maybe taking a page from Cody's book, who's having a lot of success with that over on AEW. But meanwhile, you've got Eric Young coming in and saying, you're holding on to that title till I want it. So if anyone who's a fan of Eric Young back in TNA, anyone who remembers him from WWE is going to see that and be like, cool, I'm getting a new match every week from the champ. But ultimately, I know that he's going to be facing someone that I know. And they have time now to evolve the Eric Young character and show us who he is now. So that's smartly booked there as well. You've also got Moose, who's the TNA champion, who's been kind of more on the comedic side. I feel like they're going to send him back into being, big lug territory, because he's saying he doesn't want to defend it against anybody, and especially not EC3. So he has a match with Falaba, beats him, and then gets beat up by EC3 after this. So we're heading towards EC3 and Moose, which is also great.
Love it.
And I like that EC3 is kind of like this dark Punisher character now, whatever you want to call it. So I think he's going to bring Moose back over into the serious side of things. And we're going to legitimize this championship by possibly putting it around EC3's waist. So also good stuff there.
Yep. Kyle with the super chat, $5. Thank you, sir. Says, I have to say, the advertising of Wrestle House on this show is the most brilliant idea they had on their show, introducing all of their characters. Love it.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is that everybody who wasn't involved in something else, they had Rosemary and Johnny Bravo in a like a rental house or something, and just like a funny little segment, and then Taya shows up so that we turn into a party. Kylie Ray appears, and then the Deaners, Alicia Edwards, Crazy Steve, John Swinger, Susan. I'm trying to remember who all showed up. Basically, everyone else showed up. And they were joking, hey, we're all going to start a reality show called Wrestle House. And it's just going to be chaos and all kinds of craziness and blah, blah. That's a great idea. Okay, you're going to take every character that doesn't really have anything going on and make kind of a fun little segment out of it. Why not? Yeah. Let them show off who they are while you have all those other programs. Okay, cool.
It's Big I agree. Brother, but with wrestling?
And it was entertaining as hell. Like this, I could see how on paper it could go either way. Yeah. No, in practice, it worked out and it was fun.
Nice.
And that's before we even get to the Good Brothers. Gallows and Anderson show up. They call Gallows the greatest big man in the world. They call Anderson the greatest wrestler in the world. So they're obviously coming out big swinging. They're probably going to go over to New Japan at some point. But for right now, they're going to have a little feud with Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, who come out and knock the beers out of their hands and like, okay, we get it. You guys came at us at Slammiversary. You're coming at us now. Cool. That's a good start for them. Have a nice big team they can work with. One big guy and a mean guy. That's a good, I think that they're going to have some good matches there. That's a good start for them.
Nice.
Deonna Purrazzo came out to say, that's right, I'm the champ. No one can touch me. I pulled Jordan Grace's shoulder out of her socket. So she can't get a rematch. So I'm the champ. Ha ha. At which point, of course, Kylie Ray comes out and says, oh, no, I'm actually the number one contender. So, yeah, you have to deal with me. They brawl. That's going to be a great feud as well. RVD and Katie Forbes are ending cancel culture. They're going back to beating themselves. Katie Forbes is like, I'm going to be naked next week, and you all can watch. Yada, 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 yada. Heath Slater is there. He's trying to sneak in. Heath. He can't use his last name anymore. He made a point of saying that. He's trying to sneak in. So they have a whole angle where he's trying to get in, and Rhino's supposed to be helping him, but Rhino missed him this week because he was busy killing Hernandez. They were supposed to have like an arm wrestling match, but he ended up goring Hernandez instead, took the money. So I don't know if they're trying to undermine Rhino and Heath's relationship and possibly end up in a feud, which would be cool, or what the plan is. But I'm not, or if they have him as a tag team. Either way, I'm not mad.
No.
I didn't know that he was going to be this entertaining. I'm down.
Fantastic.
And finally, Nick, we've got to talk about the big thing that happened on the show. The tag titles changed hands. The North have been your champions for a long, long time, but they are your champions no longer because the Motor City Machine Guns showed up and beat them. What did you think about this? Is this the right time for that? Should they have done it at Slammiversary, or like how? What are your feelings on Motor City Machine Guns slipping in and winning the titles?
I think it's okay. They're really hot right now. There's a lot of people that are excited. They're back. We've also got the Good Brothers. We've also got Gallows and Anderson now back in there. So I mean, we need some more. Let's make sure that it's smart by Impact to start building all of the things that people are hyped up about. That's what I'll give them credit. People are really hyped up about Motor City Machine Guns. People are really hyped up about the Good Brothers. Eventually, do they end up going at each other? Who knows? But I mean, yeah, I'm here for that kind of stuff. I think the North have had it for so long now that people had basically forgotten they existed. The tag titles existed, and now that we've got some hyped up new tag teams that are rolling in, let's make the tag titles important and relevant and
be exciting. Yeah,
be exciting again. So yeah,
Agreed.
I'm not mad at this.
And I don't think it made the North look bad at all. Again, like you said, they've had it for so long. Machine Guns are super hot. Everyone's freaking out about them right now.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to make them the champs, I think. And especially if you're trying to bring back lapsed fans, that's one more thing they're doing right. So across the board, a very good Impact episode. I think they landed the plane from Slammiversary very well. They're off to the races. They did about 150,000 on Access TV, which is far and away the biggest number on Access TV. Like, they are the biggest show on Access TV by a long shot.
Yeah.
So good for them, and we'll be keeping up on Impact.
Can we rap about the Good Brothers for just a second?
Okay.
Not too long.
Said a hip hop, a hippie to the hippie to hip hop. What? No. Oh, you meant talk. Okay. No, yes. Go ahead. No. Sorry.
They've been doing the bit of a media tour lately, and the most recent one that I saw was they were on Chris Van Vliet, who I thought was directly affiliated with AEW now, but apparently he's still independent. He's still independent. So he had an interview with Gallows and Anderson after they did their Talkin' Shop podcast, and we the Talkin' Shop Mania that they're, I guess, a backyard pay-per-view they're putting together or ran. Anyway, the point I was trying to get at was there was a lot of stuff in the Chris Van Vliet interview that was sort of a follow-on to the Talkin' Shop episode where they basically did a tell-all of everything. And the thing that stood out in this one was that they had offers on the table last fall from AEW. They could have gone over, and they were very clearly stated that, not to put it all on AJ, but Carl Anderson stepped up and said if AJ had gone over or was over there, we would have gone to AEW. And I had that little shiver and that chill that went up my spine that said, oh my God, we had an opportunity to have Kenny Omega and AJ Styles get back at each other. And if you had been flanked by Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson, and I just went, oh, who dropped the ball on that one? Because that might make the wrestling world implode. That's like final boss of final bosses.
Well, that would have been the the Hogan turn, the NWO, of the modern era. If that whole faction, the three of them had gone to AEW, forget it. It's over. Like, that would have been absolutely monumental.
Yep.
Like Tony Khan, sell a stadium, make that happen.
Yes. Tell Dad to sell a big piece of commercial real estate, please.
Oh my Lord.
But the point is that they had offers from AEW, and they had been talking to Impact, and Impact had been courting them and said, got Carl Anderson interested in even wrestling in the first place again. Plus the money was good enough and all of that. So, I mean, just they couldn't turn down the Impact deal, plus the ability to and the freedom to go work in New Japan again.
Yeah, which I know they really want to do. It's the first thing. One of the first things that Anderson tweeted out was Japan. And I'm saying that in like the Street Fighter voice. Japan.
Carl Anderson, one more thing, even said that he would have bet his house that his name would have not been on the list once they saw the video from Vince saying that we're going to have to do some layoffs.
Yep.
That's how
Big-
blindsided those guys got.
A year. It had been less than a year
Since they signed a 5-year
5-year
guaranteed money contract.
And Triple H was like, basically, like, we love you guys and all this. The problem was, and whether they said it was Heyman that was doing it, whether that it was or not, somebody told Vince, if you want to save money, these two dudes are not doing anything, and we're paying them how much? Because they had huge contracts.
Yeah, Gallows even said
contract.
during that interview, it was like they were making enough for like 5 or 6 other wrestlers.
Yep. So if business is business, it does make sense.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Yeah.
That being said, Nick, let's wrap up on Impact. It was a good show. We'll come back to it and see how it's doing next week. But for right now, we got to do a little segment that is actually sponsored by one of our patrons at a certain patronage tier. You get to produce your own segment on this here show.
Yeah.
And that's where this came from. This is Jesse Money's Bright Side of the Ring. Well,
first of all, guys, a quick shout out to Jesse. Thank you very much for your continued patronage.
Thank you very much,
We really
brother.
enjoyed talking with you and coming up with this segment. This is the second one that we're doing here. We did Sami Zayn's Sammy for Syria last month.
Mm-hmm.
This month, Ian, you've cooked up something equally
I got something
awesome
else
here.
The idea is to do an uplifting story about pro wrestling, something in the pro wrestling world, or a pro wrestler. And this week, for whatever reason, I was wondering about a former WWE star, a guy who has since become like a enormous star in his home country. And it's someone who I think a lot of people in the U.S. still kind of poo-poo or they don't think terribly fondly of. And that person is the great Khali. But he's actually a pretty fascinating guy. And he's got an incredible rags to riches story, because that dude started out like dirt floor poor, nothing, one of 7 siblings. His real name is Dalip Singh Rana, and he was born in 72 in this small Indian village in North India. So Himachal Pradesh is like a northern state in India, and the Sirmaur district is like the southernmost part of that. So he's kind of like the middle north of India. And he, like I said, he had 6 siblings, and he's still religious this day because of his upbringing. They followed Ashutosh Maharaj, who's a Hindu, Punjab Hindu. So, as you probably might have guessed from his size and from the protruding forehead and jaw, he had the same thing that Andre the Giant had. He had acromegaly, which is why he got so damn big. He's 7'1". And
commonly known as gigantism or
gigantism. Yeah. And it was actually because he had a tumor pressing on his pituitary gland. And he actually didn't get that removed until 2012.
Wow.
That's how long it took. But they're not sure if that ran in the family. His grandpa was near 7'2", but we don't know if his grandpa had acromegaly as well. So no way of knowing. But he did end up becoming, as a young man, he became a security guard in Shimla, which is near his village he was born in. And while he was there, he was actually noticed by the nearby big city, the chief of police, because even as a young kid, the guy is 6'9", 6'10". So the police chief sees him and goes, I'll have that guy.
Yeah.
I'll have that security guard. And so he brings him over to Jalandhar, which is the big city nearby. And he becomes a member of the Punjab Armed Police. And the police chief ends up getting him a job not only with the police force, but he also was doing what I can only describe as like showcase events at sporting events. He got him into weightlifting, got him into athletics, and apparently Khali just completely took to this right away because of his frame. So he got into bodybuilding, and he would just show up at events, like big sporting events, and just pose. Like, look at the gigantic, strong dude over there. And he was basically like an attraction in India. But he brought his brother with him to be part of the police force. And so he actually was supporting his brother for a while there. While he was there, he became Mr. India twice in 97 and 98. So that was how he already was a big deal at that time. while he was working out, he actually saw WWE while he was doing all this. That's when he first saw WWE. They introduced it to him while he was doing these bodybuilding things. And because, you see WWE and everyone's jacked on WWE. So you're like, I want to look like that.
Right.
Right. So at the time, he thought wrestling was real. and and so his thought was, well, crap, man, I'm huge. I'm strong. I could beat all these little idiots up. So he figured he was going to go become a professional wrestler because he thought it was real. He started studying wrestling in India. He was like, I'm going to go to America and beat all these guys up because I'm so much bigger than them. Then he gets to America. He actually first came to the San Francisco Bay Area and went to wrestling training school and was like, oh, wait, it's not real. It's scripted. What? Crap. And he didn't speak English. He didn't he was living on the floor of a 10 by 10 room.
Wow. He thought he was coming over to do like prize fighting, basically.
Yeah. And then, whoops. Ironically, he came all the way over here and was working with APW. But the first big company he signed with was All Japan.
Oh, wow.
He had to go all the way back over to Japan to get signed with All Japan. That was after he was trained by APW in Hayward. He was actually trained by a guy named Roland Alexander, who was, in his real life, an accountant. So Great Khali was trained by an accountant, and as many people who would criticize his wrestling later would say, well, you did get trained by an accountant. Now, this is when actually a little bit of tragedy struck, because while he was working for APW, he was actually involved in killing a guy.
Oh, what?
So a guy by the name of Brian Ong, they were training. Everyone at the wrestling school was training, and apparently Ong got a concussion doing a move, and the trainer said, well, you just weren't doing the move right. Just keep training. So he kept training, and then apparently during a match between Ong and Khali went for like a spine buster or flapjack kind of move, and Ong grabbed Khali's shirt and came down weird. He came down on his tailbone, which whiplashed his neck, which was already, he'd got a concussion previously that day. And apparently he didn't, was in pain and was having problems. But the trainer said, Al, he'll be fine. They didn't take him to the hospital until way later. And by that point, it was too late, and he died a couple days later in the hospital.
I didn't know all of this.
Yeah. And APW was actually sued for recklessness. No one came after Khali because everyone who was there and saw it said Ong just took the move wrong. It wasn't Khali's fault. But Khali said that he was shaken up. He said he felt horrible, but what's he going to do? Either he can let it stop him or he can keep wrestling. He feels sympathy and everything, but it wasn't his fault. It was something that shook him up a lot, but it made him respect what he was doing in the ring a hell of a lot more. And it might actually seeing what can happen when someone isn't trained properly might actually have led itself to why he started a school later. And that's kind of where we're ending up on this. But of course, I think a lot of people know him from there. Obviously, like I said, he joined All Japan. He was in New Japan for a while. He even wrestled tag matches against guys like Hiroyoshi Tenzan and Manabu Nakanishi. He was in CMLL for a minute. And actually, he was in WCW. WCW signed him 8 months before WWE bought them out. And you never really saw Khali on TV, but he was technically in WCW.
No kidding.
And then WWE bought them out and didn't pick up his contracts. They didn't know who he was. And in fact, this is crazy. WWE, Vince McMahon did not know who Great Khali was until Great Khali got so well known in the independent circuit. He ended up in a movie role in The Longest Yard. Remember that Adam Sandler movie?
Oh God, yeah.
He was in that. He played a character in that. And apparently Vince McMahon saw that movie and was like, who's that guy, pal?
Yeah.
Who's that big son of a bitch? Because, Vince likes him big. And apparently when Vince found out about him, he sent a limo to pick him up, gave him the red carpet treatment, took him out to lunch and said, how'd you like to join WWE, pal? And of course, Khali's looking at Vince is rolling out the red carpet. He's going to give him a ton of money. And he's like, yeah, it's like the reason I came to the U.S., dude. So that's when I think everyone knows him from there. Obviously, he came in as a monster, feuded with Taker, feuded with Cena. He says Cena was his favorite opponent, including the spot where Cena AA'd him off of a tractor or like a piece of equipment. He says that was his favorite spot he ever took. He said Cena was a really good guy to work with. Was always very generous. And of course, then the Punjabi Playboy happened, which
I
The less we
literally
think about
just got
that, the better.
tingles up my back.
Yeah. The thing is that right before he joined WWE in 2005, you know how he's always kind of like lumbering to the ring a little bit? He never looks like that limber. It's not really his fault. He actually had a knee injury in 2005 and had a botched surgery on his knee in India.
Oh, man.
And he's had a limp. He's had a limp ever since. He was actually a lot more spry before that. If you actually go watch his stuff in New Japan, he was a lot more spry. You know, he's never going to be wrestler of the year, but yeah, that really actually kind of took the legs out from underneath him, pardon the pun. But he also says that WWE schedule wore him down. Like he came in, if you go back and watch, he came into WWE just pretty jacked. And by the end, the road schedule wore him down. He couldn't keep up with the working out the way he wanted to, and his body started falling apart on him. So in February 2014, he was granted a naturalized U.S. citizenship. He married his wife, Harminder Kaur, who's a U.S. born. He married her on February 27th, 2002, but he didn't have a daughter with her until just after he became a citizen on February 26, 2014. So, and his daughter I saw recently, he and his daughter in the ring, he wants her to be a wrestler too, but right now the only move she knows is like the Ric Flair thumb to the eye poke.
Hey, you know,
she's really good at that. She's really good at that one.
Yeah.
So he decided after he was done with WWE in 2014 that he actually wanted to go back and give something back to the city where he started. So he went back to India in Jalandhar, and that's where he formed Continental Wrestling Entertainment, his own school / promotion where he could actually get people into pro wrestling there. He's hired some American trainers. He actually had a guy named Rex Andrews who's currently wrestling for Reality of Wrestling. He was a trainer there. He's bringing people in, and basically he says anyone can apply. You do have to pay because even with people paying for it, it operates at a loss. But the idea is he wants to get people involved in sports and fitness and being healthy and to get the passion for wrestling that he has. And the thing is, it works because he's a huge figure in India. Like he's actually like when he says something, he just gives like an interview and it's front page news.
Yeah.
So he's gone from basically dirt floor to now he actually paid for his parents to have an actual house, and they have 8-foot high doors in the house when he comes home.
Nice.
So yeah, it's very cool. And as kind of like the final, like this year, his wrestling school has come so far that WWE actually signed for the first time 3 of his trainees. In January of this year.
See, that's the biggest reward right there.
That's the big one. Is like after everything, he went there. He started this started the school, and apparently it was an uphill battle. But 3 guys now have finally joined the WWE and the Performance Center. In fact, if you watched Monday Night Raw last night, you saw one of them. I saw one of them in the crowd. Gurvinder Singh, Sukhvinder Grewal, and Lakshmi Kant. They are all in NXT right now. Gurvinder and Sukhvinder are both 7+ feet tall. So they're good looking dudes and they're good athletes. Like you're obviously looking at Vince looking at these guys and going, that's the next great Khali's right there. But Lakshmi is actually, he has got a history of javelin and taekwondo. So they got him just because he's athletic as hell.
Damn.
So there you go. You've got a guy who started off with nothing and he ends up now creating a school where he's putting out people that are worthy of going to WWE. So, and like I said, you know, when he says things, people still write about him. He's an outspoken about immigrant rights. He's very much a proponent of protecting persecuted minorities. He's used his fame to help promote sports and fitness. He goes and he's like the special guest when they do gym inaugurations around the country. Like they'll bring him in to, you know, cut the ribbon, as it were.
Yeah.
And bring eyes to their gymnasiums. And so he's come a long way. And you know, whatever you think about him in ring, the guy himself has had an incredible success.
Wow.
Personally. And it actually makes me wish I could go back and watch that Punjabi prison match. I might have a much bigger smile on my face when Great Khali shows up to save Jinder Mahal. And we probably haven't seen the last of him because he said, like, I don't really want to do a lot with WWE, but if they come and give me a check, I'm not going to say no. He's jacked right now, too. He's got himself in shape, too. So
well, there's also a certain someone who had to go away and have some knee work done and is also looking very jacked himself right now, and that is one former WWE champion, Jinder Mahal. And yeah. I could certainly see something there, especially to try and get the Indian eyes on the product again. Don't forget, guys, 2 billion people in India.
Yep. And It's very popular over there.
Yeah.
And Khali is probably the greatest representative they could have of that.
To India,
over there.
he's the greatest wrestler of all time.
Yep. Yeah. And that's, like I said, that's pretty awesome for a dude who started with nothing.
Yeah.
So
what a great story, man.
Yeah. It's like, I was kind of starting to research and read about it. I went from being like, oh, yeah, the great Khali, to being like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. What a great story.
It's all the warm fuzzies are being fired right
Yeah,
now.
and that's the idea of the bright side of the ring. So thank you very much, Jesse Money, for having the idea for that segment. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your support of the show. And anybody else out there, you want to get a segment on our show, just go over to patreon.com and sign up for that tier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you too can produce something on the show. So thank you again, Jesse Money. And that has been the bright side of the ring.
Well, we're going to keep the positivity train rolling as we head over and close out the show with our very own moment of positivity. Mop, 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 mop,
mop. That's right, the mop, the moment of positivity, brought to you by Sean Clark. We appreciate you guys hanging with us and being positive out there, because that is one of the things we want to send you back out into the world after listening to our show. You want to send you back out with a smile, with a good, warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And to do that, we put this little segment at the end of the show, something that we talk about that happens in the last few days of wrestling, in the world of wrestling, that left us with a smile, left us with warm fuzzies inside. Nick, what was your moment of positivity for the last few days?
This one's pretty easy because Raw was complete and utter dog shit. So you could pick out certain things, but you know what? I have a feeling where you're going, so I'm going to go somewhere else.
Oh,
that's Dominic whooping the shit out of Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy with a kendo stick.
That was a good one.
Swinging for the fences. Dominic having his own moment without Ray, either on the Tron or in or around the ring. Just Dominic. Dominic coming out and standing his ground. He looks fantastic. If he can punch up the mic skills a little bit, that dude's got a big future. And I say that outside of all Nick booking kayfabe. I'm really stoked about Dominic being an up-and-coming. We've seen this surge of Latino wrestlers coming up back into WWE, and I'm very, very excited about that. And if Dominic can continue that sort of, Eddie Guerrero, because that's his real dad, tradition.
Oh, come on.
Let's continue that story. We've got all this lore
Would
and
you
history.
stop?
We've got the Mysterio and the Guerrero legacy around the ladder match for Dominic's.
The sooner we forget about that, the better. Come on.
But we could pick up where we left off. Let's write the final chapter of the Ray and the Seth eye for an eye stuff. Give Dominic a chance. I don't think he would disappoint us. That's my moment of positivity.
All right.
Dominic.
You started off with
Guerrero.
something very positive, and you ended up not being very positive for me.
Yep.
Oh, God. Where did you go? Where did you go? My moment of positivity, Motor City Machine Guns are the tag team champions of Impact. Come on.
Yes.
How can that not be my moment of positivity? The Motor City Machine Guns reform and go win the damn championships in Impact. Come on.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's an easy one. That's all I have to say about that. That's my moment of positivity. I marked out. I popped. I'm like, yes, they're back. They're champs. There was some other good stuff. I loved Asuka's selling of Kyrie being injured when she comes out screaming at the back. I loved Randy Orton's promo at the top of Raw. It was sick, and I love that buttery RKO that he gave to Drew. But it's got to be Motor City Machine Guns. It's got to be.
I kind of want to give an honorable mention to the idea that we could one day get AJ Styles, because he's pissed off right now. He's not very happy with Vince or with Paul. Keep that in mind when that comes up. And Tony Khan
they made him the
starts
Intercontinental
backing
champ.
the Brinks truck up to AJ
right.
Styles. Okay.
He doesn't have he only has a few more years left. He wants to be able to retire and just have WWE take care of him. From what I understand, he may be pissed right now, but they're doing everything right with AJ to make him happy at WWE now. They know that he's pissed, and they're like, you can be the Intercontinental champ. Here's some money. We love you. We love you, AJ. We love you, Mr. Phenomenal. Don't leave us.
AJ Styles and the Good Brothers versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Does that not just write itself?
I'm just glad this camera only catches me from the waist up when you talk about it. I'll put it that way. But suffice it to say, nipples. But that's, very exciting. I think it's a little unrealistic.
It is.
But very exciting to think about. But there you go. That's our show.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sir Ian Dangerous, and thanks to everybody in the live chat. Special shout out to Kyle and just Andy and Jacob, all of you, Will, Xander. God, you guys killed it tonight with the super chats. Thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate all of that. Again, I'm going to throw you a little bit of one final reminder. Saturday's show will not be here. We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to tell you that we are moving to Twitch. Twitch.tv/BustedWideOpen is where Saturday's show will be. Same format, same bat time, different bat channel as we head over to explore what all we can do over on Twitch. And again, a reminder again, head over to the Facebook discussion group. Check out the live stream that I did in there in the group, talking about all of the details, plans that Ian and I had, why we made decisions the way we did, and all of the details and vocabulary that you need to know. It's I give you a sort of cheat sheet on Twitch, all of those sorts of details and things. So go check that out when you get some time, because it's going to be very fun and very important to understand. Things are a little different over on Twitch. But you guys will get the hang of it. I have faith.
They're pretty fun.
It's a blast. Head over and watch a couple of streams of some games or anything like that, and watch how the chat interacts with the show. It's really a lot of fun over on Twitch, and I'm very excited about it, if that wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Definitely get into our Discord as well. Lots of good stuff coming there. We got SummerSlam coming up. Follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. All of these links can be found over at bwopodcast.com. We're going to be updating that very soon. Stay subscribed here on the YouTube channel. We're going to have some more content coming throughout later this year, as well as keeping the BWO dailies rolling. Don't miss out on those. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And last, patrons. Love you guys. We've got a bonus episode coming for you Thursday.
Oh, yes.
Heads up, Thursday evening, bonus episode for July. Will be live streamed right here on YouTube. I have to figure out what to do with that over on Twitch. I don't know. We have to figure that one out. But
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But just heads up, patrons, $10 and up patrons. We will be doing that bonus episode on Thursday night for you guys. I think that's it.
That's it, dude.
One more time. And I just wanted to kind of bid farewell here at the end to YouTube. There's a lot of things that we've learned. There's a lot of lessons I've learned specifically about the technology and what it's good for and what it isn't and all of those sorts of things. But it's been a good platform. We've learned a lot in the last year.
We're not saying goodbye to YouTube. We're just saying goodbye to live streams on YouTube. We're still going to be on YouTube. We're going to still be putting tons of stuff on YouTube.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the lives. That's what I mean.
Oh, my God. You're such a sap.
If YouTube woke up tomorrow morning and decided to make live streaming a first-class citizen, we wouldn't be going
Let's
anywhere.
let them get on with their day.
That's all. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We love you guys, and we will see you guys back Saturday on twitch.tv/BustedWideOpen.
I'm excited.
Very excited about it. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But my God!
Would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.